a long time since I've heard that song. It's been a long time since I've sat here ready to record an Eagles podcast. But we're back for season 5 of The Outside Insider. And we're coming in explosive fashion. Not for the first time, not for the last, you dirty-minded listeners. Alright, we're starting off with a bang, guys. We've got a massive, massive announcement in the way that this podcast is available absolutely nowhere at the minute, and it's things you just love to see. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello, bonjour, je m'appelle Liam. I need you to do me a favour because we have just launched something massively exciting here at Philly Sports Network, and it's called PSN Radio. What is PSN Radio, you ask? It's a podcast for other podcasts. Now, what essentially I've decided to do is look at our landscape of podcasts and understand that we've got Flipping the Birds over here. Hello, Brian and Chris. We had My Stuff months ago. We'll get to that. We have Pod Street Bullies. Hello, Derek, John. How are you doing, boys? We've got a couple of Phillies and Sixers ones coming. We've got Duke by the River. And I was just like, they're all so separated and they're all got their own audience, and that's fine. But if we pour them all together and we give people a one-stop shop for the best PSN content, and we add new podcasts like Spreading the Love, a new sports betting show with myself and Ricky Amendeo that went out earlier today, I think we could really make some ground in the podcast game and breathe down some of our competitors' necks. Not in a nasty way, not in a sensual way, but in a, like an I'm here kind of, you know? So basically, guys, PSN Radio is available on all good podcast platforms. We're talking Apple, we're talking Spotify, we're talking DEEZER, Google Podcasts is on the way. If you could be so kind as to click a link in the description, subscribe or follow on your chosen platform, you not only get this podcast, this absolute level of bang average podcast, but you get Flipping the Birds, you get Pod Street Bullies, you get everything else we have got in the pipeline coming straight in your... Not like that, alright? But you'll get a lot of podcasts. I think it's going to be fun, and we want to do some exciting things with it as well, and hopefully you guys will embrace the idea. So if you could take a couple of seconds to subscribe, that would be amazing. If not, I will cry myself to sleep. But what I won't cry myself to sleep about is the fact that Eagles football is here. It has been so long, and I've missed this podcast because this is just me talking shop, basically having a mild breakdown every single time I do it. But it's fun. And I need to firstly explain why the podcast went MIA. And I had a lot of questions about this. I didn't really understand how many people actually cared. And then I saw it named in an article of like top 25 Eagles podcasts, despite the fact I haven't uploaded in months. And the truth of the matter is that, especially during COVID, I was uploading like 5-6 videos a week on YouTube. And that made life very difficult to find unique podcast segments because I've already explained it better in a video. Like Jalen Hurts, for instance, right? When the Eagles picked him in the second round, I could do a film room. I could do analysis on the coordinators and guys like Marty Morningweg and Rich Scangarello. On a podcast, by the time I get to Friday, I've already done that. And then you've got Flipping the Birds already doing their thing. I didn't want to tread on troubled water sort of thing. So I'm bringing it back, and we're doing a couple of things different. But I want to start things off with, I would say, one of the most enticing aspects of this game. What I wanted to do was look at 5 players who I think need to shine in order for the Eagles to win on Sunday. Because yes, they're 5-point favourites. Yes, Washington are bad. And yes, the Eagles' offense is good. But I do think there are some wild cards here. And I do think a lot of people are overlooking certain things about this team. Now, I love what the Eagles have done with the offseason for the most part. I don't understand certain things. We'll get to that much later in the show. We're going to talk about Cre'Von LeBlanc. We're going to talk about Zach Ertz, so stick around for that. But these are the 5 players that I'll be keeping an eye on this Sunday. And the first one is kind of obvious. It's Darius Slay. And a lot of you know I'm not the biggest Darius Slay guy. Now, that's not disrespect to him, okay? I understand that he is one of the top corners in the league. Top 10. I'm not going to get it twisted. He's top 10. 10, not 5. Right? In my opinion, whatever it's worth. All right, I think he's top 10. He's a great cornerback. I think he is exactly what this secondary needed in terms of someone that can shut down one side of the field and enable the rest of the secondary to deal with the other troubles that may come out of the backfield and tight ends and all the rest of it. So taking a WR1 away, especially in a schedule like this, while you groom a potential replacement, is absolutely fine. I think that's a great move. On paper, I love the signing. I still wish it was Byron Jones. Personally, I still wish it was Byron Jones lining up week 1. If it was my off-season, I think that was a perfect schematic fit. Maybe I'm wrong, and I really hope I am. I would love to be proven wrong that after 5 weeks in the regular season, Darius Slay ends up being, breaking records and having the form he did when he was a Pro Bowler a couple of years ago, when he was swatting passes like some sort of besotted fly swatter after a line of snow, just like flying everywhere, arms flailing, like me in a mosh pit trying to windmill, I want that. I want that Darius Slay. The swagger, the intensity, the ball production. I do not want the Darius Slay that showed up in 2019, who just didn't want to tackle, looked like he didn't want to be there at times, and of course dealt with a hamstring injury and a plethora of off-the-field issues. That said, this matchup in particular against Terry McLaurin is very, very interesting. And it's not one, if I'm honest, that I think favours Slay. And Slay, having faced Terry McLaurin last year, said he was the second most challenging receiver he'd covered in 2019, behind Keenan Allen, who had 98 yards when he faced him. So that's the level we're looking at here. Of all the receivers Slay faced, I mean, he did face, Nelson Aguilar. So I understand that. But Terry McLaurin ate the Eagles alive last year. 255 yards, 10 catches, a pair of touchdowns across 2 games. Big yikes. Now, yes, it was against Ronald Darby. Could I have done that against Ronald Darby? Probably. It's important we contextualise it, because even though it was against Darby and there was a big touchdown against Douglas where Malcolm Jenkins bit down inside the box, McLaurin still caused Darius Slay problems. Now, according to Pro Football Focus, Slay shadowed McLaurin for 74% of his routes and gave up 3 catches for 42 yards on 10 targets, which is interesting. Because I tallied 10 targets and counted 71 yards. So either I've miscalculated or PFF has. And again, I don't want to say I'm 100% right. Maybe I've looked at a receiver and got the name or the number wrong. I don't know. Either way, though, it's not good. Of 919 yards, 71 of them to me came against Slay, or 40 for PFF, whatever. It could have been a lot worse. The first play of the game was an incomplete corner out. Slay got burned. Fair enough. Should have been a deep completion. The third pass should have been a touchdown, incomplete. Haskins overthrew. The fourth play, one play later, another corner out, burned again. Now that's 2 corner routes within 4 passes from Terry McLaurin where Slay had been burned. Then he gives up a deep 26-yard vertical. He gives up an 18-yard in route later on. And he gets burnt again on a rub route that should have also been a touchdown that was overthrown. Now, Jim Schwartz said earlier in the week that doesn't matter, that it's not relevant because they played in a different system, and that's fine. But earlier in the offseason, Jim, you said that Slay was brought in to shadow receivers and take away one side of the field, and I don't think you do that playing cover 3. I don't think you do that playing 10 yards off the ball in off coverage. So either you're going to commit to what you're saying and you're going to adjust the defense to Slay's skill set and allow him to line up against Terry McLaurin, or you're going to sit back, you're going to let him do his thing in your scheme where it's 10 yards off the ball, can't tackle, and McLaurin will eat him alive. That worries me. I'm not in a position where I'm 100% sold on that matchup. I don't look at that and think Slay's got McLaurin in his back pocket. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. I would love to sit here and eat my words after week 1 and say, do you know what? Darius Slay shut this guy down. I want to do a film room after week 1. I want OnlyFans content after week 1 of how good Darius Slay's hips look. I want to see violent hands that could end up in a remake of Fight Club. But I do not want to be sat here saying, I told you so. I don't want that. I don't take pride in it when it's a negative. I don't take pride in it at all, really. It's kind of the worst brag to have. But that matchup scares me. So Slay has to be at his best. Because if he's not, then Haskins, if he's taken a step forward, at home, quiet stadium, I feel like there could be, something's got to give there. Something's got to give. They clicked towards the end of last year. They were 3-13, but you saw Haskins really evolve as a leader. If he has evolved as a passer as well, even just a bit with a touch on the deep ball, I think it could spell trouble. Yes, Slayer's got the deep speed. Yes, he's got the hips. Yes, he's got the foot quickness. I love his game. Is that going to be enough to stop Terry McLaurin's second time round? We will see. And it's no knock on Slayer if he doesn't. Terry McLaurin is a damn good receiver. And I will never forget, and I will name check it, when Jimmy Kempski tweeted out, oh, it doesn't matter because Washington have got a bunch of no-name receivers. And I was like, before the game, like, that's not the way to talk about Terry McLaurin, because he was a kind of a big deal at Ohio State, a kind of a big guy. Then he went out and bruised Ronald Darby, and we never looked back. So, again, hope I'm not right there. Second guy needs to step up. Kind of an obvious one here, Jason Peters. 38 years old. I don't really want to get into the ins and outs of the contract. I don't like the fact that he, according to Doug Peterson, heroically swung open the door in slow motion to his office and says, Doug, hush your gums. Shh, 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 shh. I'm here to save the day. I'm here to play left tackle. Doug stands up, hands on his head. He is absolutely shocked. Jason Peters runs over. They have a big hug, apparently, and that's it. And then it comes out 3 days later that he has actually got a pay rise with an extra like $3 million in incentives and $1 million in guaranteed money. Now, $1 million in guaranteed money isn't a lot. I get that. It's more the principle of budging. Like, I'm not about it. I didn't agree with it in the first place. I don't agree with it now. But it's Jason Peters v. Chase Young. It certainly could be a lot worse. Although, it's Chase Young, and he is the closest thing to the Incredible Hulk I have ever seen. And I think if Peters is going to get any help from a guy like Sayamalo, who could be handling, I don't know, Daron Payne, let's say, he's got enough on his plate already, it's a lot to ask. You're expecting that vet experience. It's like, all right, if we're giving you this extra bump, you better play your ass off and you better keep Carson Wentz upright. If you don't, we're in trouble. Lane Johnson on the other side of the field, questionable, come off surgery in August on a rolled ankle, something that plagued him at the end of last season. It's tricky. This Washington pass rush is no joke. It's the strength of their team. It's very much like the Eagles were a few years ago. Only Chase Young might end up being as good, if not better, than the Bosa brothers. So there's a lot to worry about there. Now, my theory, the Eagles can actually negate a wide receiver matchup and the Chase Young matchup is very, very easy. Because if you've got someone like Chase Young constantly breathing down your neck, you want to get the ball out quickly. The Eagles' offense thrives in making plays in open space. With Jalen Reagor back in the fold, someone that had a 22-mile-an-hour run last year in college, was the fastest player tracked in college football, someone that had a 4.27 40-yard dash. It may not have been official, but it was there. His burst speed is in the 99th percentile. It's that good. He's incredible in the yards after the catch scenarios. So, if the Eagles really want to negate that, they've got a cornerback on the other side of the field by the name of Ronald Darby, who is atrocious at everything that isn't running vertically. And by that I mean tackling angles, squaring up, press coverage, anything involving just manning up a wide receiver and not running vertical with him. So I think if the Eagles are smart, they're going to run a lot of screens, a lot of play action, a lot of dumps, a lot of wild card plays. Maybe get Jalen Hurts in there a couple of times. I think running wide receiver sweeps is a very good idea with that kind of speed. Orbits is a great idea. Love the concept of Jalen Reagor and Deshaun Jackson both on the field at the same time. That could be fun. But if you get the ball out quick and you let your playmakers make plays in open space against corners who can't tackle, not only do you negate Chase Long in that pass rush, but you also remove the threat of corners who are relatively good down the field, like Jimmy Moreland, like Kendall Fuller. I like that. That has to be the game plan. If it's not, it's going to probably be a much longer, more stagnant first half, which we're used to seeing in week one anyway. So that's two matchups in one there. The next guy is Matt Pryor, who is going to have his hands full with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. Not fun. Not a fun matchup at all. And if it's Pryor or Herbig, we still don't know who's going to play yet. I'm assuming it's Pryor. I said a long time ago, I think Pryor's going to be your week one guard anyway. So I think that's going to be a key matchup here. Is Matt Pryor ready to start at guard? He looked good against Seattle, worrisome at other times. Couldn't play left tackle, and understandably so, because he hadn't played on the left side in forever, let alone at left tackle. I think that's going to be the key. Can you see him handle someone like Chase Young? Can you see him handle someone like Daron Payne and stop that anchoring and able to get leverage and push him upfield and create space for someone like Boston Scott to break through? Because Miles Sanders could well be on a pitch count given his current injury status. So that's something to watch. And the last matchup, or last player that I want to look at here, it isn't Nate Gary v Antonio Gibson. Everyone's looking at Antonio Gibson being the linebackers. Fun matchup. That's going to be a very, very fun one to watch for me. I love the idea of Davion Taylor getting out there if he does. I think Nate Gary's speed and hopeful Development will be enough to kind of tame that to some extent. The one player I'm interested in that correlates directly to it, though, is Jalen Mills, because Will Parks isn't there, and Kayvon Wallace has not played inside the box throughout camp in that way. Your two starting safeties, in my opinion, should be Rodney McLeod up top and Jalen Mills inside. You can't afford to let McLeod run inside again. It didn't work last year. He was used inside so much more. He's so much better as that roaming centre fielder, as someone that can just take away a crossing route and allow the quarterback to take the check down where Mills can securely make the tackle. Mills is the closest in skill set to a budget Malcolm Jenkins that the Eagles have right now. Until Wallace develops, until maybe some of the other guys do, like Gary, that hybrid linebacker safety player. Mills played all over the field against the Patriots. He looked very good in doing so, but we need to see some of that here. We need to see that leadership the Eagles lost in Malcolm Jenkins. We need to see that form in tackling the Eagles lost in Malcolm Jenkins, and the non-stop intensity the Eagles lost in Malcolm Jenkins. If they can do that, I think they've got a good chance to win in this game. But those are my 5 players to watch. Those are the 5 I'll be keeping a very, very close eye on, guys. What do you think? If you're on YouTube, let me know in the comments. And again, please make sure you're subscribing to PSN Radio over on iTunes, on Amazon, on Apple, we've said Apple, on Amazon, said Amazon, Google Podcasts, a lot, alright? If you can hit subscribe on that podcast, it'll be absolutely amazing. We need your help to get this off the ground. Hopefully you're enjoying the show so far. When we come back from this tiny little break, we're going to talk about Cre'Von LeBlanc and Zach Ertz for a little bit, if that's alright, before my final predictions for the matchup.